Hello, it's Sarah Ann here from Smash Maths. Myself and Trevor Dixon, who together are co-founders of Smash Maths, have completed an analysis of the 2023 Maths SATS, which we have been doing together on an annual basis for the last 10 years or so, of course excluding the pandemic. This short analysis gives our take on the 2023 maths papers, but also provides some tips on how teachers can get set for 2024. There has been much talk in the media about how the 2023 reading papers have really been quite challenging. Similarly, there have been posts from others suggesting that the maths papers have also been challenging compared to previous years. Our personal view is that although there are some tricky questions provided within the papers to challenge pupils working at greater depth to deepen thinking, our take is that the analysis shows that the overall construction of the papers is very similar to previous year's papers. If we start here at our first chart, we can see that the allocation of year group marks for this year's papers is very similar to what has been before. We can see that 32.5 marks have been drawn from the Year 3 and 4 learning, 30 marks have been drawn from Year 5 learning, and 47.5 marks from Year 6. Hence, it's really important that as we start preparing children in Year 5 for the 2024 SATS, that we consider not just what they need to learn that will be new in the Year 6 curriculum, but also give the children opportunity to revise and learn content from Years 3, 4 and 5. At Smash Maths, we offer free weekly practices using spiral learning, which allows pupils to revisit content that they have previously learnt in a systematic and engaging way online. So our first top tip for 2024 preparation is to sign up to Smash Maths Spiral Learning, which is free to schools. Now looking at how the marks have been distributed across the different content domains, again there's no surprise to see that number and calculation hold the greatest weighting, with fractions, decimals and percentages holding the second greatest weighting with 26.5 marks. This of course reflects how paper 1 is an arithmetic paper made up of solely calculation and fraction questions. Over recent years, we have seen that teachers have become very good at preparing pupils for paper 1 through regular practice to help them become fluent with the 4 operations and to develop good stamina so that they get through all 36 questions in 30 minutes. Hence, there is no harm in getting ahead and starting now in Year 5 to complete 5 daily arithmetic questions. Looking at the chart, we can see that the ratio and algebra and measurement, geometry and statistics again have similar weighting to previous years, so the content domain coverage is very similar to what we have seen in previous SATs. If we drill down a bit further, we can see that a similar number of marks were put in context this year across the 2 reasoning papers. Also, there were 2 explain how you know questions, one in paper 2 and one in paper 3. Interestingly, there was a lower number of marks allocated to show your method type questions than in 2022. Hence, one could argue that the challenge was not as difficult. But on reviewing the questions carefully, you will see that there were in fact many 1-mark questions that required 2 or more steps to complete the problem. As with all SATS paper each year, there are always certain questions that grab our attention because of either how they are written or because there is a slight red herring in how the examiners are trying to trick or catch the children out. Another key tip is to get the children into detective role when completing past SATS questions so that they become aware of potential errors that they could make. This year, the first question of paper 2 had a potential red herring. Children had to circle the clock that showed 5 minutes past 11. If you look at the bottom clock on the right-hand side, one could easily fall into the trap and think that this showed 11:05 because the Roman numerals of the 2 ones put together look like the number 11. But hopefully, many children would have escaped this and would have selected this correct answer. So although there were no doubt some tricky questions like there have been in recent years to challenge greater depth pupils, what we have also found from looking at papers 2 and 3 in depth is that there were also lots of familiar questions that have appeared in previous past SATS papers. This, we could argue, is a classic expected standard two-step word problem. The pupils need to complete an addition and then a subtraction calculation to find out how many games were left in the shop to gain 2 marks. We can see a very similar question was asked in 2022 paper 3, using a different context and slightly large numbers. But to be successful at this question, the pupils need to follow the same steps as what was needed this year for question 7 paper 3. Paper 3 question 19, again, we would say is another traditional expected standard two-step money problem. Pupils need to use their knowledge of maths to calculate the price of 500 grams of mushrooms and 1¼ kilograms of carrots, and then find the change from £5. A very similar question was seen in 2019 paper 3 question 6, again showing commonalities between the questions asked this year and that in previous years. Further examples can be found throughout the papers. Paper 2 question 26 shows a formula that is used to estimate the mass of young children. In the question, the formula needs to be used by the pupils to estimate Stefan's mass and Megan's brother's age. Similar formula questions can be seen previously. 2018 paper 3, a formula needed to be applied to find the cost of designing t-shirts. And in 2017, a formula was used to find out how many minutes it would take to cook a 3-kilogram chicken. We can see that in paper 2 question 25, there was a 2-mark question involving measures. Children needed to find out the mass of 1 sheet of paper. A very similar question appeared in 2018, where pupils needed to calculate how many washes you could do from an amount of washing powder that had been given. A straightforward expected standard coordinate question appeared early in paper 2 this year. Again, coordinates have appeared frequently in previous papers. Last year in 2022, the children needed to find the coordinates of a point on a blank grid. This was definitely more of a greater depth question, but in 2018, a more simplified coordinate question was asked, again asking pupils to give the coordinates of a vertex. Another early question in paper 2 was interpreting a pictogram, again a familiar style question that we have seen appear in 2019 and in 2022. One final example, although we know there are definitely others across the papers, are sequences. Sequences appeared twice this year. In paper 2, question 7, the children needed to write the next 2 numbers in the sequence by counting back in multiples of 25. And in paper 3, question 4, pupils needed to continue the sequence counting on in steps of 100. Again, sequence questions have appeared many times over the years. In 2017, there was a fraction sequence question, and again in 2018, there were 2 different types of sequence questions in that SATS year. What we hope our analysis demonstrates is that although we may feel that because the paper is new, we instinctively think it is more challenging than past papers. But if we dig a little deeper, we can see that the papers are constructed in a very similar way to previous SATS years, and also there are a lot of commonalities between the papers in style and type of questions that have been asked. So to help pupils get ready for 2024, we would recommend that all pupils revisit learning from years 3, 4 and 5, introduce new year 6 curriculum in a timely way. We would suggest that you aim to complete the whole of the year 6 curriculum by February half term 2024. Practice a variety of SATS question styles from previous papers to improve reasoning, especially because, as we have seen, there are in fact a lot of similarities in the SATS questions that do come up and are repeatedly used to assess the children. And don't forget to check out smashmaths.org to help you with your 2024 SATS preparation.